afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Canapino. My name is Peter, and I've got my wife, Rowena, here with me. Hello, dear.
Hello dear, magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Rowena.
And we've got Oreo is joining us in the
Yeah.
background over there.
That's our eldest.
So we have today's episode is going to talk about blending two worlds, different roles that family plays in the marriage or in the relationship, what those cultural roles are, and so on. So we'll dive into some of that. Don't forget, if you do have any questions, comments, concerns, things you want to know about us or about the show, please email us at Canapino. So CANAPINO 25@gmail.com. So with that, we'll dive right into it. In terms of family roles, so looking kind of at the whole family, in Filipino culture, how does the whole family play into like one relationship or one marriage?
That's a good question.
I ask all the tough ones.
Well, Filipino people are very family oriented, which is kapamilya means a deep sense of belonging among family members. We're one and we're family. And the Filipino family structures are extended family. So in Philippines, we have 3-generation household are common. We have grandparents, we have aunts, uncles, and cousins. So the more the merrier in one house, imagine. Filipinos are very hospitable, would always want visitors to be at ease and feel at home. My dad is from the province of Samar, so kaway-kaway, hi, from Samar, Catbalogan, and all my cousins and my aunts, especially my grandparents, they will come to Manila because we live in Manila, and they stayed in our place. And also my mom is different province, which is in Miagawa, Iloilo. We have lots of cousins and families and relatives are staying in our place, which is, we're happy because, my moms are very accommodating, and everything that they hide in the cabinet, like chinaware of, bowls and utensils, that barely they're using it because that's for our visitors. So we're happy because our new kitchenware are used, and then we have a good menu for every day. We have a nice dinners every day, so we're happy. So that's the custom we have. Even we don't have a lot of rooms in one bedroom. Sometimes we have only 2 bedroom in our place, and in one bedroom we just stick around with my siblings, my 2 siblings, and my cousins. Sometimes they are 3, they are 4. So we stick and sleep together, and we're happy. We're enjoying that. And then all the oldies will stay in the living room, and so we're very open and we're very, I don't know, compressed, united. Yeah, we really enjoy. Yeah.
Nice. So I know that's also something that I've seen and heard in European families as well. European families are very similar in the sense that they have a lot of family around, and they also have the good dinnerware and the
That's right.
good dishes. And actually, a friend of mine, a Portuguese friend, and I'm sure some of the Portuguese listeners can attest to this,
Yeah.
they pretty much lived in the basement, and the upstairs was like the good rooms. That's where the good furniture was. That's where
right.
so the only time you used that upstairs is when you had company or you had some other gathering that warranted it was special enough to use that upstairs. Other than that, they just lived in the basement basically, which I
Yeah.
always thought was really something.
I remember my dad, he will bring out the Johnny Walker for drinks, special liquor. And then my mom, she will take out all the bed sheets that she's not using. Very new.
Get a chance to use all those good sheets.
Yes, to accommodate our visitors. So we're happy that time when everybody's coming and we have lots of visitors.
Yeah. And then in terms of, say, like Noriel and Rika, when they got married, what sort of role did your family play in that? Like, just, are they more advisors? Are they more like stay on the sidelines and just kind of, be there for them? Or are they
Yeah.
very involved?
they're very involved. That's the one that I told you. The three generation households are very common to Philippines, because when Rika and my brother-in-law Noriel get married, and they stayed in our place, stayed in my parents' house. Same as my brother Kuya Glenn and his family stayed in our place, which is really, is very crowded. But that's the thing in Philippines. They help my moms. They can't really think about not helping them. So that's the way they're helping them to live together, so that they can allow themselves to work, and then the grandchildren is the one, the grandparents the one looking after for the grandchildren. So yeah, my parents are very open, and I don't know how they deal that, but it's more crowded, it's overprotected. My parents are very overprotected, so means sometimes you feel like you're choking, but I'm very ambitious, so I wasn't there, so I'm pretty sure they enjoy, but sometimes they feel crowded.
Yeah. In terms of like involvement in the marriage itself, though, like, do Filipino families, like, do the parents typically make a lot of decisions for the married couple, or do they just help with advice, or do they really just stay out of the way?
Parents are very, sometimes it depends how you manage to stop the borderline for the parents. It depends to the kids. My sister and my brother, no, I'm not sure how they manage it, but I'm pretty sure they live together there, so I'm pretty sure my parents are the most, lots of say about their lives. They're helping them, they're guiding them. They have a house, yeah. And then even for the business, my brother before, they help them. The family help. My parents help them to build the business for my brother. Our house in Philippines, we have 4 stories. So before my brother family live in first floor, and then second floor is our tenant, third floor is Rika's family, and fourth floor my dad and my mom. Yeah. And how about you, sweetheart? So for Filipino cultures, about what does the family play in Canadian?
In Western culture, I think it's a little bit different because the family is always there, of course, to be helpful, but we're not as connected, I think, as maybe the Filipino families are. Just meaning that, yeah, we always have family around, but it's more certain occasions as opposed to always being there. And a lot of families, I mean, this is going back to when I was a kid. It's changed a little bit now, but when I was a kid, if you got married, like, you moved out and you moved in with your new spouse, and you started creating that home and that family outside of your paternal home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was always very common. Now it's a little bit different, where a lot of times newly married couples will stay at home and live with one set of parents or the other until they can get enough money to become independent and move into their own home and start building their family that way. But yeah, it can be very different. It just depends. Canadian culture is a little bit different because we have such a mix of different cultures.
Yes.
Like, we already have like a lot of Italian, Spanish, Lithuanian, German, Russian. Like, it's a melting pot of different cultures altogether. So you kind of get exposed to all kinds of different things. But in Canadian culture, I think I'm not far off in saying that the tradition is basically, yeah, you meet when you're planning your wedding. You either move in together before you get married, or you move in immediately following your wedding.
But in your family, your mom, they really, really have a big decisions too in terms of your family, like your wife, when you get married.
Not really. I think maybe in older times, maybe the parents played a little bit more of an active role. When I was growing up, not so much. The kids were always left to their own devices in terms of choosing who they were with. My family in particular, my mother was always very open about who her children chose to date or who to marry, things like that. And it was always left to the child to make that decision. And she was always as supportive as she could be. To make the person coming into the family feel most comfortable and welcomed and loved and supported. The same for her own kids. Of course, she wants them to feel loved and cared for and supported in their decisions. So she was always, 100% with whatever decisions we made.
Yeah, I know moms is very easygoing. So whatever
for sure.
decision she will be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was always her goal, is just as long as you're happy, I'm happy. That was
Yes.
always mom's kind of view of things.
Yeah. But I noticed in Canadian culture, in our relationship, I remember because I'm very accommodating. Remember when we went to the cottage, your dad's cottage? Yeah. So he didn't expect, my husband didn't expect that we're going a lot of Filipino. I think we are 8 or 10.
Something
10.
like that, yeah.
Yes,
It was a whole
yes.
bunch of us.
Yes.
It went from the two of us going up to a dozen of us.
Yes, yes. He was so surprised, because I didn't really realize that, Canadians, they are more in privacy and more privacy. They don't want any, sleeping together, everybody sleeping together. Yeah, but because when he found out, he said, we have only 2 bedrooms. What we gonna do?
Well, that stems more from, because Western culture is a little bit more separated and geared around privacy and things like that.
Yes.
My thoughts, of course, when I'm thinking of other people being brought into a situation that they're comfortable, which comes from my mother wanting to make sure that everybody's comfortable. I was always thinking of, everybody's going to want to have their own space to, be able to get changed and sleep and, kind of be relaxed and be comfortable. So that's always my mindset. But of course, that's a cultural thing.
Yes.
But now, after being exposed to that a few times, I realized, like Filipinos are totally okay with this and totally comfortable with, whatever, sleep on the couch, on the floor,
Yes,
sleep together
that's
in a
right.
bed. So I was,
We can adjust.
yeah, and I thought it was really cool because it does kind of open up a lot of possibilities and flexibility in how you plan things, and not being as focused on that you've got to have all kinds of space for everybody to kind of coexist.
Exactly.
Mind you, for Western culture, that's a big adaptation to make, because we're not used to having a dozen people sharing a bedroom with you or things like that. In terms of the approach to love and commitment, culturally, I see it myself all the time with Filipino people that I know. Perspective on love and commitment is very different in terms of how you view it, how you engage it, and sort of the expectations, I guess, that might be a little bit different than Western culture. But tell me, from your perspective as a Filipino, what the difference you see.
Well, in Filipinos, you are very loyal in terms of relationships. They will fight in the name of love.
Wow. What song did you
Yes.
steal that from?
But Filipinos very emotional. They love to celebrate in every details of relationships. I know you know that. When we met, I remember one example when we met July 24, August 24, I'll tell you, oh, we have a mansari, sweetheart. We always have celebrations and
I'm just most impressed that you remembered that date.
I make it sure that it's really, I remember.
You wrote it down, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we always celebrate every small details and even our anniversaries and worse. And really exchange for him is, for me, I don't mind. That's Filipino, we get married. We got married twice, right? And Philippines and Canada. And plus the day that we met. So it's more 4 celebrations in a year, plus the Valentine's. So we love celebrations regardless whatever. in
Yeah.
terms of love. And but for commitment, Filipino, they're really committed. They're really willing to move mountains. In fairness, yeah, and to be honest, for my husband, my sweetheart, I love my husband, even his imperfections. He really made an effort,
Are
our
you're not gonna start
relationships.
listing them, are you? She's got a list somewhere. From a Western perspective, I mean, we're also very committed. We're a little less on the number of things we'll celebrate about that relationship, which, I mean, in a way, it's a bit disappointing, because,
Why?
well, no, I mean, like, from Western culture's perspective, like, that's one of the things that I do kind of like about the Filipino culture is that, that perspective and that commitment to the relationship and wanting to celebrate all of those milestones, whether it's the day you met, the day you kissed, the day you married, the whatever it is, like you guys really revel in the celebration of all of those things together, which is kind of a special view of things. Whereas Western culture, I mean, we celebrate the usual things, the anniversary of your wedding and things like that. But we tend to find, or we tend to leave behind some of the things that maybe don't really mix into that anymore, like the day that we met. I mean, I'll always remember it,
Uh-huh.
and I know you will. But from a Western culture perspective, I mean, once you get married, you kind of leave that date behind. The day that you met, it's not something that you will
Oh,
continue to celebrate. It's something that you'll always remember, but it's not something that you'll go, hey, we got to have a little party for that one.
boring.
Like that's just a Western culture thing. It's not to say that we don't care or that we're not committed. It's just I think, and maybe this is more just my own personality, but sometimes like I feel like in some ways you can over celebrate, but not really. I always kind of celebrate those things internally as opposed to making them more of a big thing that I want everybody to be involved with. Sometimes it's the celebration of those things privately can be just as important or just as impacting as it is to have a big party for them. You'll never see a couple that's been married for 40 years having a big party that is around the day that they met. It'll always be around the day that they married. That's the kind of
That's
thing.
my husband. He doesn't want me to go to the dinner and no gifts. That's why he likes to be like intimate only. He's very generous for intimate.
Which brings us to our next point about talking about the finances of things.
Yes, speaking of being generous, we go to that finances thing.
Well, because all of these celebrations, they cost money. So in terms of Filipino culture, in terms of a relationship or a marriage, who is typically the person that's expected to manage like the household finances?
Oh, I remember my parents. My dad my dad is the breadwinner of the family, and my mom is the one who managed or looking after the kids, the households and everything, and manage the finances. So mostly my dad is giving more money, and then of course he doesn't say anything. Where's my money? Nothing like that. My mom is the one who budget everything in our expenses. So that is mostly typical Filipinos during, I think, my mom's era. I'm because nowadays the new generation women are career oriented already, and so they can earn money. So during the time of my parents, my mom is the one in the house, so she's the one looking after all the expenses. But my dad is the one primary giving money to the family.
And
But my mom has a part-time job. She's making a dress, so she earned a little bit
Mhm.
to help my dad.
Do you think that's changed the roles at all, though, in Filipino culture? Like now that women are working more, have they passed on like the family finance management to the husband, or do they still typically look after the finances?
I think so. They changes eventually now because new generation are very career oriented, especially women. So women can do and earn money already. So they have their balance, their family's expenses. Like my sister, I think my sister also doing that because my sister was working before she get pregnant. She was working, and Noriel's my brother-in-law was working too. So they I think they split 50-50 for the expenses. They help each other. So
Right.
that's the most important thing. Yeah.
And in Western culture, I think, like I know, and this is kind of dating myself a little bit, but going back to like the 50s and 60s and that, it was typically, the men were the breadwinners, same as Filipino culture.
Yeah.
Where men were the breadwinners, women stayed at home, looked after
Yes.
the home, raised the kids, did all that sort of stuff, managed the finances. But now, same thing. With women now becoming more, dominant in the workforce and doing all of these things. And it's more of a necessity of the times, I guess, because it's really hard to be a one-income family without having to make a lot of sacrifices to do it.
That's right.
I think a lot of women kind of have to work.
Yes.
And I know a lot of women, want to be able to work and to do things outside of the home and things like that. And I'm not, being sexist in any way, thinking about that. I'm all for, women doing whatever they choose to do, whether it's to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom or whether it's to go out and work. But it has sort of reshaped the way that the family dynamic works in terms of who takes responsibility for different things, whether it's finances, house cleaning, things like that.
Yes.
The old days, men didn't really do anything other than cut the grass and clean the garage. But now it's,
Yeah.
men are responsible for a bunch of things around the house. And I mean, that's the case with you and I. And we've really kind of divided it up in terms of where our strengths are.
Yes.
I'm good with the dishes. I'm good with vacuuming the floors, doing the laundry. Those are my big things. And then
I'm good for good looking.
Indeed, sweetheart. But yeah, I mean, but we've never really had that conversation to say, okay, you're going to be responsible for this. I'm going to do that. It's like we've really just kind of found our own rhythm just through doing things.
Well, we have a sense of common sense.
A sense of common sense. I like it.
That's right. when the other one is tired, so of course you will do that. You will do the whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That's the good thing for our our relationship. There's no pressure, no stress. Whatever you can do, whatever you want, as long if you're okay and you're in good mood, why not go ahead? But of course, we have responsibilities for everything, our household, our finances. So, and whoever is available, they can do that. You can do that. Like my husband.
Well, we always talk about those things too. We discuss the finances a lot together to figure out, okay, where are we at? What do we have coming up that we need to pay attention to? What are the long-term future plans for us and things like that?
Yes. We talk about that, and Peter is more, managerial, about money. Let's do it, sweetheart. We'll go to the computer and we have a white spread.
White spread?
Spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet, that's the one.
Yeah, not white spread. Spreadsheet. Yeah, we'll do the spreadsheet, and we've also, we have. Of course, we are mature, and we are both working, so we have to know our expenses for both of us and for each individual. Yes.
And I think that something you said there, I think, is really important, is that we're both mature. And I mean, I only raise this because I know that we married a little bit late. in life, where most people are getting married in their 20s or 30s.
That's right.
We were a little behind that curve, but that was more, I was married once before and it didn't work out, but you were never married.
Yes, that's
And
right.
that was more just because you were independent and were doing your own thing, looking after your career and building, that life for yourself.
Well, I'm very ambitious. That's why I didn't get married early.
Any regrets about waiting that long?
No, actually, no, because
looking
I
who
met
you ended
you.
up with.
Yeah. Hard to say I regret because I have you already.
Okay, I feel better now.
Yeah, no regrets because, yeah, physically, mentally, and financially, I think we're stable. That's why,
Yeah.
no regrets. Yeah.
Good.
If we get married young, like you.
Yeah. Well, even when I got married before, I wasn't all that young. It just wasn't a great decision. That's all. What are you gonna
So,
do?
you're
People
not
make
really
mistakes.
mature enough to have a financial stability. So,
Yeah. Well, that's a whole different conversation.
no, that's a big,
It's a long
big
topic.
conversation.
It's a
So,
long
drop
topic.
it, drop it, sweetheart.
Anyways, on that note, I'm going to say that we'll wrap this up for today. Next time on Canapino, we'll be talking about our wedding. And
That's
yeah, I
exciting.
know
I love that.
she was so excited about our wedding. Me too. But women are always a little more excited than the guys are. But we'll talk more about that next time on Canapino. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, for downloading, doing whatever it is you do to get this podcast. We really appreciate your support. And please send us a note at canapino25@gmail.com. CANAPINO25@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, anything else you wish to share with us. Please keep it clean, would you? You never know what people are going to send you these days. You can ask for anything. Anyways, anything you want to add, my dear?
Nothing. Thank you so much for listening to us. You're enduring our conversation.
Well put, sweetheart. And with that, we will say thank you so much, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.